Welcome to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25 Media. We feature top founders, executives, and business leaders from all over the world.
Chad Franzen here, co-host for this show where we feature top restaurateurs, investors, and business leaders. This is part of our SpotOn Series. SpotOn has the best-in-class payment platform for retail, and they have a flagship solution called SpotOn Restaurant, where they combine marketing, software, and payments all in one. They've served everyone from larger chains like Dairy Queen and Subway to small mom-and-pop restaurants. To learn more, go to SpotOn.com. This episode is brought to you by Rise 25. We help B2B businesses to get ROI, clients, referrals, and strategic partnerships through Done For You podcasts. If you have a B2B business and want to build great relationships with clients, referral partners, and thought leaders in your space, there's no better way to do it than through podcasts and content marketing. To learn more, go to rise25.com or email us at support@rise25media.com. Barry Jessurun is president and CEO of Green Valley Hospitality, a group of restaurants in northeastern Connecticut. He is author of the book, The Drunkard's Path, a self-help and career guide for people across all industries. The book explores the fundamentals of work and life. His unofficial title and role is Chief Storyteller. Hey, Barry, thanks so much for joining me today. How are you?
Hey, great. I'm well. How are you?
Good, thank you. Hey, before we get into Green Valley Hospitality, tell me about your book and what are some of the valuable lessons or things that people would take away from it?
Well, the book is broken up into 4 sections. It's kind of like a whole life plan. The first section is unemployment, and it's about how to be the employee everybody wants to work. It's based in simple practices that you just do and embody, and over time you get good at. And it's, you're the person everybody wants to work with. It's like, oh, great, Chad's here, man, it's going to be a great day. It's about how to be that person. The next section is management, and it's about how to create a space that attracts and keeps and guides that particular employee, right? And how to work with language and all that around it to create a positive space for it. The next section is engagement, where we take those two together and we create a positive offer, not just for work, but also our lives, right? And the last section is commitment, where we take, what we've learned to be that great employee, to be that great manager, to actually bring it into our lives and be that great spouse, that great community player, because the promises we make in one domain really should follow through in all the others. So there's, work-life balance is kind of like, silly, because what we do in one domain, we should be doing in all the others. So those are the fundamental sections of the book. There's 3 underlying themes. The first, and I work with a lot of people in the 17 to 22 age group, and the story I tell them, or I help them tell themselves really, is who they work for, is themselves, and the future value they're creating. Right? They don't work for me. Their story has to be something greater than that. Otherwise, it's not going to work, right? So after that, the next underlying theme is that as human beings, we live and create in language. So the more effective we are in using our language and knowing how to use our words to create, right, the more effective we're going to be at creating the life that we want. And the better you get at using your language, the better you get at creating your life, right? This is not new. It's just spoken a different way. And the last section, the last underlying theme is what I call selfish altruism. It's kind of how I live my life. I came across the term in a book by Richard Dawkins in the 1990s, and I'm like, wow, that's what I do. But his was on like a cellular and gene level. It was from a book called The Selfish Gene, and it's selfish altruism. Like what I do because I want to do, and then all these other people are going to benefit because of what I'm doing. Right. So those are the 3 underlying themes that go throughout the whole book, and it's really about you creating the life that you want, you being the lead character in your own story, right? And that's what the book is about.
What made you decide to write the book, and when did you kind of realize that you had these kind of insights that you wanted to share?
I've been writing for years, basically to help me be a better communicator. So I would research something, I would write about it, I'd share it with my managers, my partners, in some cases the employees, so that I could come from a place of knowledge, a place of embodied knowledge and understanding. So like I knew what I was talking about, right? And I've been doing that for years. And somewhere along the line, someone handed me a book. They said, "Oh, you're going to like this book," and it was called "Who Moved My Cheese." Have you heard of it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's a book. It's about one thing, about taking responsibility for yourself. It's basically a 3-page essay in a 100-page book. And I'm like, really? That's the bestseller? Man, I could write something. I have. But life gets in the way. I opened 2 more restaurants, and I finally got around to writing it because I've been speaking at universities, and I came away from one of those after the conversation, the back and forth with the students, and I was like, you know what? I know who my audience is. I know what the story is I need to tell, and I sat down and I wrote the outline pretty much in about 15 minutes, and then it took me about 4 more months to write the book. I had about 35 to 40% of it written already. It was just getting the outline done, and then every Thursday, put my writer's cap on, write.
Are there some specific parts of your work and or life experience that were kind of driving factors behind some of the content?
Yeah, my whole life. It's based on 40 years of me doing this, But I had taken a class in California. It was an online class, but we also met in person 4 times a year. And in that class, it was a business class that was based in biology. And we learned the fundamentals of being human and how we work with that to create offers in the marketplace. And I worked with top people in many industries from around the United States and different parts of the world. And it was working and thinking with those people really had me see the world a whole different way. And I could look back at what I had done with that new lens and go, wow, that's what I did. And these are the words around it. So this is how I can actually be more effective and create moving forward. So, that was sort of key. But I had been a certain kind of worker. Everybody, through my 20s said to me, "Oh, Barry, you should own your own business. You've got the right mindset. You're doing the work." And that's kind of it. But the catalyst was the class to help me with my thinking.
Who do you think would most benefit from reading it?
Well, everybody. Because there's little bits in for everybody. The first section of the book, anybody, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 in the job market, it's going to be great for them. Anybody who's a young manager and working with that age group, it's going to be a benefit. Anybody who's a business owner, 40s, 50s, and has to work with all those people, there's a benefit, right? Someone who's moving through their life and wants to do something different, there's a fundamental understanding of how we create, right? It's going to help you. So it really, my editors and my pre-readers, many of them said that it's really 2 books in one, that it could have been broken out. But it's, I've had people from, teenagers to people in their 70s offer me, great feedback on it. People in their 70s saying they wish they had a book like that when they were younger. And the younger people going, man, this one section, I really like it. I'm going to work on that. So, it's one of those books you can open and read a chapter.
Sure.
That's it. It's like, have you ever heard of the book, The 4 Agreements?
I believe so, yeah.
Right. So, that's a book with 4 things in it, 4 practices, let's put it, right? And actually, if you do all 4 of them, if you get good at them, your life does get better, but they're practices and they're hard. Like one of them is don't take things personally. Actually, great skill to have. It takes you 20 years to get good at it. And there's only 4 things in that book. A lot of people read it and go, wow, great book, And I go, well, what are they? And almost nobody can name all 4 because they're practices you need to put in your life. The problem with my book is that it's got about 40 practices in it that I've been working on for 40 years. And the idea is find one, work on it, depending on what age you are, where you are in your life.
Sure.
It's more of a reference book.
Right. How can people find out more information about your book or purchase the book?
They can purchase it anywhere online. Books are sold. It is sold through Amazon, but you search The Drunkard's Path and we'll pop up at Target, Walmart, whatever. Wherever you like to buy books, it's there. It's also on Audible, and it's also available on Kindle.
Okay, great. Hey, Green Valley Hospitality is a group of 4 restaurants, Vanilla Bean Cafe, Dog Lane Cafe, 85 Main, and Fenton River Grill, and you're the founder and designer of all 4 locations. You founded the Vanilla Bean Cafe in 1989. What had you been doing up to that point, and what led you to start it?
I've been working in the hospitality industry at varying degrees of from health clubs to ski areas to water parks to, just fun stuff. I mean, somebody summed it up once to me. He said, Barry, how come you always have the jobs the guys in the beer commercials have? mainly because I went out and looked for fun things to do and to learn from people around me whatever I could with those fun things to do. And then I went outside of that and even took on some other things. Like I got my single engine land pilot's license because it was a fun thing to do. I learned how to cook because it's a fun thing to do. So I'd always been working with people, with young people, and in the hospitality industry, and kind of thought I'd like to stay in it. And then at some point, my family said, "Hey, we're going to turn the barn into a cafe. Come home and help." I'm like, "Well, there's a good place to, help out and learn some more." My plan wasn't to stay here. My plan was to help out and then go somewhere else. But I ended up staying, and here we are 33 years later after opening the Vanilla Bean Cafe. We turned an old, 19th century barn into a European American cafe, which when we opened it, it was limited service. Now the segment in the marketplace is called fast casual.
Sure. So what can a customer expect when he or she goes there?
Warm, inviting. It's sort of like walking into someone's home. High quality, hand prepared food. Employees that look you in the eye and talk to you and are friendly and engaging. The kind of place when you're traveling, you want to stumble into. You don't want to do the chain thing. It's the kind of place you want to find when you are traveling.
Where did the idea come from?
I guess the idea came from the fact that it's missing, right, in the marketplace, pretty much. And I found out it's actually missing all over the place. It's a mid-market is what I call it, but it's high quality hand prepared food. And it's like in California, they really started doing it. Chef-driven, fast casual restaurants. That's kind of what it's become. So when you're going out and you want something either quick or you want to take your time, whatever it is from a cafe standpoint, but you don't want to be waited on, right? You want to be there on your time, your way. So you get to come in, you order at the counter, you pay, and then when your food's ready, we bring it to you. It's based on English pub style. So when you want to get something to eat and you're in a pub, you walk up to the bar, you order your food, you pay them. And then when the food's ready, it comes out. When you want to leave, you just get up and leave. Because one of the big problems in dining in America is when you want to leave, it's really hard, right? The industry has not gotten really good at getting people out, with the exception of those restaurants on Friday and Saturday nights that need to turn tables like mad, right? And then you just feel rushed. So, but if you want to be somewhere where they're not doing that, but you still need to get somewhere, it is so hard to leave. So we wanted to create that kind of environment, but still have, a higher quality food that you wouldn't normally get in counter service restaurants.
What were the early days there like at the Vanilla Bean Cafe?
Well, we were busy out of the gate. We were rather surprised. We opened only with 16 seats inside and about a dozen outside. And we thought we just catered to the local community, So we sort of opened it for my younger sister to run, and, we didn't expect much of it. But what we found out was that hole in the marketplace was all over the place. And people came from 30 minutes, 45 minutes away to eat with us. And many told us, "Oh man, you got to open one of these in our town, because it's missing all over the place." So our business grew like mad. I remember the first Columbus Day weekend, we were so busy, we literally ran out of food and had to close on Tuesday and get an order on Wednesday to regroup and get going. So, but it worked right out of the gate and grew right out of the gate. And within 3 or 4 years, it was, well known.
When and why did you decide to open your next restaurant then?
Yeah, so that class I told you about in California, I learned quite a bit from there. And what I kind of learned was that one restaurant wasn't going to produce enough money to take care of owning a home, saving for retirement, saving for college for kids. It just wasn't going to do it. Now, if I was in a city somewhere, we were generating $5 or $6 million a year, probably. But one restaurant in a small town in Connecticut wasn't going to do it. So we looked at selling it and then realized that the value that we had created over 10 years was in the story, right? The story of the Vanilla Bean and how far and wide it had become known was actually more valuable than any money we would have gotten out of it. So we decided we would leverage the story and look for another place to open, but something different. We were looking to just sort of fill the marketplace holes in our area. So the next thing we went after is the high-end full-service restaurants, because a lot of people in this area would go to Providence, or they'd go to West Hartford, or they'd go down to the shore for a really good dining experience. They were driving half hour, 45 minutes into an hour. And it wasn't so much the drive there, the problem was the drive home, right? So what we cured was good food with a short drive home. And it took about 3 years to get that off the ground, because it was a reach. We were in one of those old mill towns that had died in the 70s, and they'd been trying to come back. And after about 3 years, we got our feet under us. We were doing okay. We put an outdoor patio in. We actually leased the parking spaces in front of the building from the town so we could create this curbside appeal. And that was one of the main things that pushed it over. And then we started doing oyster festivals. And we did those for 4 years, and that just put that town of Putnam on the map. We got known for oysters and raw bar, and then that business took off.
And is that 85 Main? Is that what you're?
That's 85 Main.
Yeah. And then what about the Dog Lane Cafe that opened in 2011? What led to that?
Yeah, so that was one of those underrepresented towns where a lot of people from there came to us and said, you need to open a vanilla bean down by stores, because it's the University of Connecticut. There's 20, 30,000 students, 10,000 adults, and everything was catered to students with very little in the high, mid, and upper for adults. Just wasn't there. It was an agricultural college. There was no town. There was nothing. Trying to find a space down there to do it was almost impossible. We kicked tires for years. And finally, somewhere, it was around 2000, 2001, they decided they were going to look into the idea of building a town in this stores area. And so I signed up, I paid my dues, and, I went to meetings occasionally, tracked the progress of them building this town. It was the 5th time in university's history that this has been tried. So a lot of people weren't paying attention. They're like, oh, that's not going to work. It didn't work the last time. It's never going to work. But I was paying attention, and literally I was the first person to call when the email came out and said they're looking for tenants, to sign letters of intent. They weren't even ready for me. The email went out and it's like, we're not ready. 2 weeks later, we finally met with them, and we were like the first person to show up. We were exactly what they were looking for, and they were people we could work with. And so we ended up getting the prime location in the first building, and hit the ground running, and pretty much worked right out of the gate.
So what can a customer expect when they go there?
That's built into a brand new building. It's got a really cool inner vibe feeling. Lots of all the walls are created by artists. So there's no art on the wall. It's actually the walls themselves are that. It's kind of, the colors are warm and coffee and Southwest without the Southwest. It's this Dog Lane theme kind of runs throughout kind of quietly, but again, it's limited service, or fast casual as we call it. Our staff there is trained to interact, because there's always new people coming in because it's a university. So they always have to expect that someone coming through the door is new. So a lot of them go out and they greet them, hey, how you doing? If you've been here before, and they explain the service. I mean, that doesn't happen in America. It just does not happen in that kind of thing. So, and then we have a barista location where they're doing all kinds of coffee drinks, and chai drinks, and smoothies, and that's a whole section in itself. And the other section is all open kitchen, and you can see the whole thing. It's soups and sandwiches, and grilled stuff and wraps and daily specials and the like. So it's dynamic. There's 600 people a day go through the door there on an average day.
You opened Fenton River Grill in 2018. What led to that?
Our customers at Dog Lane said, hey, we really like the fast casual thing you're doing here. We love the quality of food, but there's nothing for us adults who want to go get a glass of wine or a beer, or have a cheese plate or something like that. Something to share, someplace to go after work. Again, it was mostly catering towards students without a lot of, adult stuff going on. And the few that were there weren't, playing in a higher quality game. So we looked for a number of years, never really found anything close to the university. It was actually the town mayor came to me one day and said, hey, what about this particular place? It was 5 miles away. We went and looked at it, decided it really wasn't going to work. It was too small. The landlord came back to us afterwards and said, look, I can move one of the tenants because they're tenant at will. Their lease ran out and they never renewed. So if we get that space, will it be big enough? Will it work? And after doing the math and doing some sketches, I'm like, yeah, that'll work for us. So we went in and did that. And it's a local pub. There's 20 beers on tap, great craft cocktails, lots of shareable food. The way that young people want to eat that, they don't want to pay for the extra glassware, the extra silverware, the tablecloths, the can, they know they don't want that. They just want good food, good drinks, good service. And that's kind of what it's geared toward.
So you've got four restaurants, and one of which has been around for more than 30 years. What are some things that you're particularly proud of in your career in the restaurant industry?
That we're still here. You know, the average life expectancy of any business in the United States is 8.5 years. You know, the average life expectancy of restaurants somewhere around the same area. And you know, when we say that, it's not like they failed. I mean, I know a lot of people who got in the business and got out because they just didn't want to do it. They were working too hard. You know, the business was doing fine. They just didn't want to do it anymore. Because it's, you know, it's the same with any business, really. You know, when you get into it, then you really learn what it's all about. You go, well, I like the idea to begin with, but I don't want to do it anymore. And that's the case a lot of times. It's not, when we hear the word failure, we think, oh my God, failure. But that's not always the case. But our story was to keep it going and to try and create a life for ourselves and the people around us. And we took on partners so we could help them create the life that they wanted to create. And it's really, we function in Northeastern Connecticut for a reason. It's because it's the quality of life that we get living out here. You know, I'm literally less than a half hour from all the places that we own. And I'm an hour and 10 minutes from Boston. I'm an hour from the shore. You know, I can get places pretty simply. Boston's only an hour and 10 minutes away. I've done day trips to New York City. You know, so we're close enough to everything, but still living out in the country. And you know, I have one traffic light on my way to work.
So what are some, what do you think are some key reasons for that longevity, especially with Vanilla Bean Cafe?
It's just the quality and the consistency of the offer. We are on the state's longest scenic highway. We get customers who come once a year. We have customers who come, you know, when they're passing through. We're one of those central locations, those meeting locations for people in other areas. So we become a meeting place. We are a destination for road enthusiasts, people, you know, from motorcycles to cars to, you know, there's different groups that meet here all summer long. You know, the Mustang Club, the Midget Club, the 1915 and before club, the Harley riders, the Yankee BMW riders. It's become a destination for all kinds of people like that. And then it gets your standard people just coming through. It's kind of like a show to a certain degree. The patio is out front. You know, the parking lot's out front. If you just want to come and get a soda or a coffee, you can do that. If you want to come and get the full meal, you can do that. You want to come and just get a soup or a chili, you can do that. Nobody's pressuring you to leave. Nobody's, you know, it's a very easy place to be. And the quality is just always there. Mainly because my brother and I are here. My office is in the Vanilla Bean. It has a lot of hands-on care. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not like a lot of people, they start a business and then they have other people run it. You know, we're here telling the story. That's why when you introduced me, you said I'm chief storyteller. We continue to tell the story. That's why Coca-Cola keeps advertising. You know, everybody in the world knows Coca-Cola. Why are they advertising? Because they have to keep telling the story, right? Sure. So we're successful because we're really good storytellers.
A part of that journey included the recent pandemic. How has that kind of changed or affected operations at your locations?
It was, to begin with, difficult as we had to retool and figure out how to survive. Our main goal was to remain open and to keep everybody employed who wanted to be employed. And then we'd figure the rest out. 2 of our businesses were debt-free, so we weren't too concerned there. One was, you know, 7, 8 years old, had some debt, but not too bad. We could figure it out. The other one was fairly new, and we had some deep concerns about survival. And we did our best to do that. Fortunately, that one actually benefited the most, because we lost a lot of our staff, but then we were able to grow it back up organically instead of like, oh, here's this new restaurant, and you have all these new employees, right? Now it's like, here's this restaurant, everybody knows what it is. So the right people started to show up. And we created a team there, and now it's that restaurant's actually, you know, knocking it out of the park. It's been doing business better than it was when we first opened. It literally just beat, you know, our first couple of weeks of operation. So that's really good. We won some great awards last year for the beginning of this year. Best New American, Best Appetizers, Best Beer Selection, and Best in Overall Excellence for all restaurants in Windham County from Connecticut Magazine. And, you know, that got the staff jazzed up too. So they you know, it's all part of the story. And that one's doing well, actually, because of it. The others had varying degrees of success or suffering too through it all. But our commitment as owners to keep it going no matter what, and then the governments step in to say, hey, look, we're going to help because we did this to you. That helped a lot. You know, it helped us with our mindset going, now we don't have this worry. Now I don't, oh my God, I'm going to be in debt for another 10 years, we were able to breathe a little easier and go, okay, let's let's do this. Let's get out of this. Let's grow this. And I think because we've been around for so long, people equated us with safety as well as quality. So we had people come here. We're also destinations. People get out of the cities and go to the country. So that helped. A lot of the places in Connecticut that were like that along the shore, they did well during the summer. We also, all our restaurants have outdoor seating, and it's one of the main themes of our restaurants. Like when we opened our 4th restaurant, we actually had to get the patio approved by the town before we would sign the lease.
Oh,
wow. And then we had the landlord pay for half the patio because it was going to be his when we were done anyway. So that all had to be negotiated. But if we couldn't get a patio, we weren't going to do it. That's how important it was, and it turned out to be more important than we even realized because of the pandemic. So,
okay, well, hey, very nice. Congratulations on your longevity and all your success. How can people? I have one more question for you, but first, how can people find out more about your restaurants associated with Green Valley Hospitality?
Well, greenvalleyhospitality.com is, of course, the easiest way. You can get links to all the sites from there. That's kind of the easiest. You'll find all the places. We are in northeastern Connecticut. We are. All of them are destination restaurants. People drive an hour or more to hit these places. And the book is thedrunkardspath.com. So you can find information there. There's links to buying on Amazon, to Audible, and buying directly from us, which actually helps better because the author actually makes money when you do that instead of the machine. When you buy from Amazon, that helps because then it gets out of an account, but it helps me pay back my printing costs when you buy from me.
Sure. Hey, when you go, last question for you. When you go to the Vanilla Bean, as a customer, what's kind of your go-to item?
So me personally, or what's our best selling?
You personally.
So I tend to like breakfast here. Breakfast is really, really good. It's high quality, local farm raised eggs, high quality, thick sliced bacon. I love our egg sandwich. It's great. Other than that, I do half sandwiches because we offer a half sandwich on the menu. A lot of times, we make a big sandwich and a half is just right in the middle of the day for me. Other people, they could eat a whole sandwich. Not me, right? We also do local beef burgers, which I think is probably the thing I probably eat the most of. But we are known for chili. Chili is probably one of our best-selling menu items. It's been on the menu since we opened, and we go through tons of it.
Okay, great. What sets the chili apart?
I call it a New England style chili. It's not too hot. It's got some heat. I really can't tell you what it is that people really like about it. I can tell you that it's not offensive. Like some chilies, they're either too hot or they're too meaty or they're too tomatoey or, there's something that's just not quite right about it. This one sort of goes down the middle. We have a few more vegetables in it than most chilies have. We use ground beef. It's a little easier to eat and chew than the other stuff. And I use about 5 different spices. So the heat goes all the way through the flavor rather than being something in 1 or 2 spots. It's from when you smell it all the way till you swallow it. And you're just heating every aspect of it, but not hot enough for most people can't eat it.
Sure. Well, sounds great. Hey, Barry, I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
Great. It's been a pleasure talking with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So long, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25. Visit rise25.com to check out more episodes of the show and to learn more about how you can start your own podcast.